the dead to help lift the spell. Caretaker Ben Parker knows the ritual. The spirit must be paid with half a pint of whiskey and 9 cents.
If I got a bad spell, I come right here. I dig a hole down in there, and I'll call. You can see the name on there, so you call them by the name. Lydia Brown. Then you say, Lydia Brown, I have a bad spell on me. I want you to take it off. I'm paying you. I don't want you to do it for nothing. I'm paying you to do this for me. Then you dig a hole, pour half pint of whiskey, 9 cents in there, and cover it back up.
After a lifetime on Edisto Island, Ben Parker knows the recipes of root medicine, and sometimes his neighbors consult him.
What other things would they use for a death spell?
You can take a rattlesnake, kill a rattlesnake, and drag it through your yard, and I can kill out all of your people in your house.
And that would be like a very evil spell.
Yeah, that's a death spell.
Ben specializes in protecting houses against harmful influences. He shows Nora Esteves how to use household ammonia to ward off the magic of evil roots.
When you put this around, I just want to make sure, what will you be protecting me from?
When you put this around, this protect you from people putting anything around here for you to pick up, and if anything here, it'll eat it up.
In South Carolina, root medicine creates serious difficulties for conventional doctors. Psychiatrist Mike Lampkin works on the islands. He's expert at spotting the signs.
For example, here. Now, you notice this house over here. It's got the dark blue trim around the windows and around the door, and how the posts are painted up along the front porch. That blue protects the dwellers of that home from the evil spirits, or from a root being applied to them.
Dr. Lampkin regularly has to sort out the consequences of root medicine. Today, he's been called to a patient who's convinced she's under an evil spell. Lampkin has learned from experience that he must pretend to be a root doctor himself to have any chance of success.
I have to transform myself from the pseudo-sophisticated psychiatrist into the very, very omnipotent and all-knowing root doctor.
The dehexing session has all the trappings of root medicine.
You know the name of the person who has placed the root on you?
Yes.
I don't wish to know the name.
He gives her harmless drugs, which cause hot flushes, and tomorrow will turn her urine bright green, signs that the evil spirits are leaving her body. With this elaborate ceremonial, Lampkin hopes to convince the woman that he is a very powerful root doctor.
When I draw near unto the sick man, when I examine the muscles of the sick man, when I compose his limbs, when I sprinkle the water of on the sick man, when I subdue the sick man.
Both Lampkin and his patient wear blue glasses, the traditional protection against evil spirits.
You have 3 cents from your husband,
Yes.
4 from you. Would you place the 3 cents from your husband on this side of the plate and the 4 from you on that side?
Finally, when he's convinced the patient believes in his powers, Mike Lampkin gets her to help him cast out the spell. Though he says it's all a charade, Lampkin's dehexing usually works.
Expenses of my
But can roots affect even skeptical people? G. Gatty Dowling is a rational man. He's one of South Carolina's leading lawyers.
Okay.
Yet he's convinced that an evil spell was put on his family. It all began the day he sacked the maid.
The daytime cook had gone in to clean up the room that Lucille, who had been our maid, had left, and had found something in there that she called a root, made up of 2 needles going one way and one the other, and wrapped around with black thread and stuck into the head of the mattress where Lucille had been sleeping. And I pulled it out, and when I did, I walked back towards the kitchen, and Liza saw me with a root in my hand, and she went hysterical again and ran out into the yard again.
Soon it seemed that the evil magic of the islands had invaded his home.
My oldest son stopped breathing and was in a life-threatening situation. I was in a very life-threatening situation with a ruptured appendix. My small son came down with a double dose of measles and chicken pox, and my wife, she had this adult case of chicken pox. Let's say that the evidence adds up. I was thinking in terms of whether a jury would decide that I had had the root put on me, and I would really have to conclude that they would.
There's no doubt that people can lose the will to live, often through sheer fright induced by spells, despite the best efforts of the doctors to save them. In 1965, the British Medical Journal reported several well-authenticated cases of this amazing phenomenon.
The members of the British Medical Association who wrote the letters still dine out on the stories.
3 days.
When I was a house surgeon in one of the teaching hospitals,